So recently, a lady on TikTok who is, I believe, South Korean, made a really viral video about African American passport bros. And if I'm not mistaken, the lady's name is KK31387. And obviously we made a response to that original video. But in case you didn't see that controversial video, what we'll do right now is we will play it again.
So I know a lot of these passport bros, and especially black men, are in my comments asking me why I'm talking about this. It's not my fight. And before anything, I'm a woman, so I'm always going to stand up for women regardless of race. And one thing that really bothers me about this is these same passport bros are the men who probably tried to hit on me in the US before they realized that we don't like them either. I'm from a town that really doesn't have that many Asian women, especially Asian women who look like me. Like I said, you guys, I'm adopted. I grew up in a white family in the Midwest, so I have no beauty standards from South Korea. I'm a thick woman. I weigh about 165 pounds. I'm 5'5", so honestly, the brothers like to holler, and they still do. Regardless of what some men in the comments are trying to say, that black men aren't checking for Asian women. Yeah, right. Check my DMs. But anyway, pretty much every time I met a black man, he thought it would be a flex to say something like, yeah, I like my women foreign. I like my women exotic. And I don't know why they decided to say that to me, if they thought it would make me feel good or something, but for me, it's always a red flag. And so I would dig in a little bit further and say, well, what do you mean by that? Like, because I'm a white girl on the inside. My family is white. I grew up in a white community in a small town in the Midwest. So I might look exotic, but I'm Wonder Bread white on the inside. So anyway, whenever these guys would say this, I'd be like, well, you're about to be in for a big disappointment if you're expecting a submissive, docile Asian to take care of you. But it really bothered me when these guys would say, yeah, I don't like black women, because that's what it always came down to, that they didn't date black women regardless if they were black or not. And their moms are black, their sisters are black, their cousins are black. I'm like, would you say this to their face? That's weird. So I kind of pick and prod after I already decided, yeah, I'm done with this, I'm out, because anybody who says something like that just is an immediate red flag. But it always came down to the same stupid stereotypes that black men always have to say about women. They're loud, they're masculine, they don't know how to treat a man, they wear fake hair. So what? So what? You don't have to put down an entire race of women because you have a preference. And honestly, like, I've dated pretty much every race, every ethnicity. I'm Ms. Worldwide when it comes to dating. Only common denominator is black hair and dark eyes usually. But I've never heard any group of men put down their own women more than I've heard black men do it in pursuit of other women. And I just find it really disheartening. And I understand why this divide is getting bigger, but I don't want to be a part of it. So I hate it, and I had to speak on it.
So, of course, that video was scathing and offensive to many African-American men, and a lot of brothers started to make responses. I won't play those responses from the men this time, but I will play this particular response because you have her responding to comments. And, you know, some of the brothers were telling her, like, hey, stay away from black issues and things like that. But again, I'm going to play this particular clip here.
These men in my comments who are accusing me of using black issues and pandering to black women to gain clout and followers are honestly so weak. Like, you guys are acting like I'm not allowed to come on my own page and talk about my own personal experiences and my thoughts after those personal experiences and trying to gaslight me into telling me that I'm wrong. If I truly just wanted clout and followers on this app, all I need to do is just show my ass. I just show my ass because that would give me a lot more clout and a lot more followers. But the funny thing is, the same guys who are accusing me of trying to use black issues and telling me I'm not and that black men aren't checking for Asian women would be the same ones in these likes and follows if I were just showing my ass. So respectfully, shh.
So as you can see, many black men were getting, offended and quite upset. And she is admittedly a single mom. So she feels, very hype about herself. I'm going to play that clip and then we'll come back.
I totally feel the same way. I don't want to date a man with kids, and it's becoming a harder and harder boundary as I get older. I know people think that's hypocritical, and I don't disagree, but I also don't care. I don't want to live in a household with someone else's kids. I don't want to financially contribute, and I don't want to be a parental figure or a role model to someone else's children. So if that means that I have to wait until my son is out of my house and in college or living on his own, then that's something that I'm willing to do. Me personally, I don't have any challenges finding men willing to date women with children. Maybe other women do. Like I said, I really don't run into any challenges. When I was actively trying to date and on dating apps, I'm very upfront about having children. My profiles for my social media are linked. They can see that I have a child in my pictures, but it's not something that's really ever come up as an issue. And if it is an issue, then they can just swipe left or not go on a date with me, knowing that it's one of their boundaries.
But the most important clip is the one that we're going to play right now, where she calls an African-American man a dusty pookie. And the brother that we're about to review the video is not okay with it at all. And I want to sit here and review that video, and then we'll come back.
The audacity of you, the utter audacity of you to sit here. One, this is a racial slur. A pookie. So you're a self-admitted white bread Asian woman who grew up in the Midwest with very little to no black exposure, but yet you know enough to use that terminology. You know enough to use that terminology. Imagine, where was you when black women were talking about black men, them divesting from the community? That's where Passport Bros came from, talking about how these men were useless. And so they said, okay, well, shoot, if you don't want us, we'll go where we're wanted. Now, all of a sudden, you guys have an issue. But where were you when they were disparaging black men for little to no reason? But you have the audacity to make this statement here, and you grew up in the Midwest by a white family. This is a bigoted comment. The audacity of you. This statement alone should get you canceled. You have no room or wherewithal to speak like this. This is disgusting. And this is what black women support. Bigoted women like yourself who come up here just to echo their made up bull about black men. Made up bull about black men. I bet you I won't ever hear you say anything about the white men, about that white family that raised you. Even though white men lead in sexual crimes against their family. Even though we have Woody Allen. A glaring example of why you should keep your mouth shut.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack. But again, you saw the comment. I know about dusty African-American men, Pookie. Now, of course, when we use Pookies and Ray Rays in the black community, for us, we're talking about a certain group of people who are involved in criminality or dusty behavior. Now, how non-blacks use it, to us, it's offensive as a racial slur because they don't understand our community and we don't like it. I get what he's saying from that. But why does she feel emboldened to use that terminology? I'm going to tell you why. Because these same black men, and you guys are not going to agree, I know you're not going to agree, but I know so many black men like this. It's true. They go to her as an Asian woman who is, if you want to be real, she's not a bad looking lady, but she's a 35-year-old single mom, which is something that you can get quite easily in black America, or a 25-year-old with no kids. So we have women in our community that look better than her and don't even have no kids. But you have black men who just hate black women so much. You will go over there and you will talk about black women in a disparaging way. It happens. This is not all black men who do this, and I'm not caping because black women do this. Black women go over to the white guys, African women do it, go and talk about how lazy black men are, how lazy Nigerian men are. It happens around the world. We run to them with all our problems, right? So I know black men do it. And then you expect her to have respect for you. She's not. That's one of the things I never like to do. If somebody, when I lived in Poland, so I remember having a conversation with this particular young lady, Polish lady, She's like, why are you here and you've not married anybody from Poland? Because that's typical of what I see African or black men doing here. Like, why haven't you done it? I said, because number one, the women that are in this country are for Polish men, in my honest opinion. And I have some really good opportunities with the women of my own community. So once I get back home, I'm gonna get married when I get back home. That might not have been the truest conversation that I was saying then, because I didn't have anybody at the time, right? But what I was saying is, I don't need your people for me to get married. There was one time I was living there, I had even somebody that I had brought from my hometown living in Poland. So it was to my perspective that you need to respect our people. Like, even if I have problems with them, I'm not here to marry your people at all. So we're not even gonna talk about that. If other black dudes do it, it's on them. But I know so many brothers and black women, you go to these other people and you start talking about your own group, and then you expect them to care about you. And I'm not defending what you said because it's wrong, but that's how we have taught her how to respond to us, because we don't respect ourselves. Black men and black women do this when they date interracial. It's not just one-sided. But in this particular case, that's why. So you expect her not to have, now obviously she's disrespectful, but you're gonna get that. See, here's the opportunity cost when black people refuse to deal with each other and you go to other groups. Number one, the opportunity cost is you have solutions to your own communities that can bring you money, that can bring you wealth, that can build all kind of stuff. Things that you will never get from somebody else for the most part. Don't get me wrong. You can go to London and do very well. You can go to the United States and do very well. You will never do as well with other groups as you can with your own people. You just can't, because you know the opportunities in your community. All right? If you don't like women and men, certain men and women from your community, there's a great solution. You can just stay away from them, right? Like, don't get me wrong. There are good people in the ghettos and in the projects. I just don't go over there. That's how you can solve that problem. But no, let's just throw all black people under the bus, which is stupid, because a lot of times when you look at yourself, you're not the most, you're not the greatest person in the world yourself, are you? It's not like you work the hardest. You have the most money. You have the most drive. So you're not even really all that yourself while you're sitting around talking about other people. See, that's something that we don't want to talk about, right? We go around and demand that from people, which we are not, and then expect you're going to go to the other race and do it and get respect. They don't respect you for that. Like, your own community doesn't even want you, right? So let's go over there and insult their community. And then you're doing it for a woman who is a single mom and 35. Nothing wrong with being 35 and a single mom, but these are the kind of women that a lot of black men in the black world say they don't want to deal with black women. So if she's 35, single mom, and she's a black woman, she's hit the wall. But if she's Korean, we can change the rules up a little bit because she's not black. And then what do you get called? Pookie? And not only that, do you know how many situations I know of guys who go over and deal with white women? Like, there was this guy out in Florida, Miami, Florida. You know, the guy that had the white girlfriend and she stabbed him to death? Yeah, he was disrespecting black women all the time. Went over to the white girl and was getting beat up all the time. You could have stayed in the black community and got that, and you probably wouldn't have got that. But that's what you see these people doing. They do it all the time. And you expect these other races to respect you. Other races don't really respect you, period. Some people are not gonna like you because you're black. It's fine. Or like you. But they can respect you because of how you conduct yourself, how you treat your wife or how you treat your husband, things like that. And yeah, we got some people that are terrible in the black community. I will say that, but we have some who are also great. And then you get these people and then you get mad when they want to start disrespecting black men. Like, the black men are disrespecting themselves in their community when they're going to her, talking about their women. So you teach her how to treat you. You don't like it, but it's true. Because let's flip the story. If we were talking about white women getting called, let's say, Keisha or Pookisha or something like that, or being called Wanda by the white man because she was going out disrespecting black men to her white husbands or white boyfriends, you guys wouldn't have no issue with that. You would say that's what you get, right? Right? Yeah, you would say that. Same thing is true here. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Back with another episode of Fair Use. We're out.